You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, if you're a Raiders fan, things are starting to get very, very interesting on the head coaching front. You've got more and more fire burning around Jim Harbaugh, ex-Raiders coach, connection to Al Davis, and there's a lot of dots starting to connect. Las Vegas Journal talks about that. We'll take a look. But you've got another issue. You run the risk of losing the locker room because the Raiders players, the Raiders locker room, loves Antonio Pierce, and there are reasons to love the guy. No doubt about it. I don't think Jim Harbaugh fractures the locker room and rubs people the wrong way as far as players go in the same way that Josh McDaniels did. I think that was a shocking cultural shock between Rich Bisaccia and John Gruden and Josh McDaniels, believe it or not. Let's take a look at this first. This is Patrick Graham, and you run the risk of losing him if you don't take Antonio Pierce. And let's be real, that defense, very, very damn good. And something just seems right about, hey, build the Raiders running game, great defense, hard nose. Feels very Raiders-like, does it not? Las Vegas Raiders defense is allowing 19.8 points per game this season. The last time a Raiders defense allowed less than 20 points in a season was 2002, 21 years ago. The 2023 Raiders defense is Super Bowl caliber defense. If Mark Davis and the Raiders believe the defense wins championships, then the Silver and Black need to keep Patrick Graham and AP. Hashtag Raiders Nation. That was Raiders report Mitchell Rentz. So Davante Adams come out and made some comments about Antonio Pierce. Quote, "That's my vote, and that's basically how the whole locker room feels," Adams said. "With good reason. He's come in and done a great job. He's continued to win us over. It's just not the comfortable thing. I think having AP here will be good for this organization. He kind of embodies what it means to be a Raider. That mentality, that swag, all the things he endorses is the things that I believe in. It's easy for a guy like me, especially having dealt with him a little bit this year and now gotten to know him and see the evolution in front of the team, all of those things, all of those different fields of being a head coach. Definitely rooting for him." And Max Crosby, one of the other leaders of the team, has come out and made very similar comments. But guys, this Jim Harbaugh thing is starting to get real with the Raiders. And if I'm a Raiders fan, I'm telling you, I'm a Niners fan, so and a Michigan Wolverines fan. I've said I've got a lot of time with Jim Harbaugh on seeing him as my coach. You see how these Michigan players respond to him. They love the man. He's everything to these guys in a lot of the same way that Antonio Pierce is. There's no doubt, and I'll say this. Number one, he turns programs around. Everybody knows that. Number two, what he did with Stanford is still one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of college football. And I'm not sure people understand the academic standards at Stanford and how hard it is to field a great football team there. And Jim Harbaugh did it. So, of course, we talked about the other day him hiring Don Yee, who is an NFL agent. And he's also the NFL agent, NFL power broker, whose most famous client is Tom Brady. The former NFL star is in the process of buying a minority ownership share with the Raiders from owner Mark Davis. Brady is already a minority owner of Davis's WNBA Las Vegas Aces. Brady's growing business partnership and friendship with Davis almost certainly means the former quarterback will have some input in the Raiders' coaching search. Throw in the connection with Harbaugh. They both played at Michigan, and now they share the same agent. It's easy to connect the dots. The Raiders, who finished their season Sunday against the Broncos, will give strong consideration to interim coach Antonio Pierce, who led them to a 4-4 record since taking over for the fired Josh McDaniels. By NFL rules, the Raiders must conduct an extensive coaching search after the season. That doesn't mean anything. Part of which requires them to interview at least 2 minority candidates from outside their organization. Davis said he's open to letting the process guide him to a final decision. But while Pierce has been impressive during his time in charge, Harbaugh is the type of candidate who can change the dynamic. And guys, you got to remember, the NFL, Roger Goodell, they hate Mark Davis. All right? He's almost, maybe he is, public enemy number 1. All right? We know Al, the great Al Davis, did not have a great relationship with the league. Neither does Mark Davis. All right? The other NFL owners can't stand him. He's still pissed off, obviously, about having to fire John Gruden. And we don't know how that's going to end up turning out. But there's a business aspect here to all of this. Mark Davis has got a team. He's in Las Vegas. That's why he's trying to get Tom Brady involved as a part owner. All right, gives added validity to his and helps him with his relationship with the league. Well, hiring Jim Harbaugh does the same thing. Now, the league may not love it, but from a business aspect, Jim Harbaugh's a massive, massive name. All right, so at the same time, you could have a double whammy of Tom Brady's coming into the organization, minority owner. Jim Harbaugh's coming in as coach. And no doubt about it, from a business aspect, it makes a lot of sense. People think it's just coaching, and we know Harbaugh can coach his ass off. But there is a business part of this, too. The buzz of him being in play for the Raiders has been ongoing since Davis fired McDaniels on Halloween night. But it wasn't clear how interested Harbaugh was in leaving Michigan for the NFL. The hiring of Don Yee changes all that. And as an NFL source with knowledge of the situation indicated Tuesday, Harbaugh to the Raiders is very much, quote, in play. Harbaugh, whose wife is from Las Vegas, I mean, here we go, began his coaching career in 2002 as an assistant with the Raiders and spent 2 seasons in Oakland as quarterbacks coach. In his short time with the Raiders, Harbaugh made quite an impression on Al Davis, the team's longtime owner and Mark's father. Quote, Al always respected him because he played. Al liked players. The late Hall of Fame coach John Madden told San Jose Mercury News in 2014, he felt the guys that played would relate better to players. He also respected Jim because he was a tough guy, a smart guy, and a grinder. The feeling was mutual. Harbaugh telling the Mercury News in 2014 that he learned at the hip of Al Davis. The detail, listen to his knowledge, his wisdom, his history of the game, and the advancement of the modern-day passing game, Harbaugh said, I was so excited to hear what he was saying and to go back to my office to write it down so I could remember it, and I would hang on every word. I mean, guys, it's starting to churn now. It's starting to really move in that direction. Harbaugh enjoyed a tremendous success since leaving the Raiders, specifically rebuilding Stanford into a national power from 2007 to 2010, then leading the Niners to a 44-19-1 record from 2011 to 2014. His time with San Francisco included 3 playoff appearances and a trip to the Super Bowl. In Michigan, he's 88-25. Wow. Mark Davis has remained a fan of Harbaugh and considers him a winner and a difference maker. He considered him for the Raiders job in 2015 and 2022 before turning elsewhere. So you got to wonder, third time the charm on this thing. It's going to be very interesting, and Mark Davis has got a hell of a decision. And I wouldn't want to be in his shoes because he's got a locker room that loves this guy loves their guy Antonio Pierce right now and Patrick Graham, but make no mistake, Harbaugh comes in there. Sure, he could keep Patrick Graham, but you're starting to talk about guys like, McDonald with the Ravens as DC, or Vic Fangio. Reunite that San Francisco thing. A lot of people will say, well, he wears out his welcome quick. Look, that was a Jed York deal. Jed York screwed that up at a monumental level. I mean, you have to do, as an owner, whatever it takes to keep a guy like Harbaugh, and Jed York just didn't understand that. He just didn't get that. And it led to a lot of, Chip Kelly, come on. It's ridiculous. Harbaugh should still be the coach of the Niners. He should have been there all these years. Probably have 2 Super Bowls by now. It's crazy. This is going to be so interesting to watch. A lot of people believe it's the Chargers. There's connections all over the place. Bears, Chargers, Raiders, staying at Michigan. And then Antonio Pierce. And then what happens if you lose Pierce? Another team could, in theory, we haven't talked about this, they could take a hard look at Antonio Pierce. There's rumors about a surprise NFC East coaching firing. Brian Daboll gets fired. Antonio Pierce, ex-Giant. That's interesting. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.